I'm loud enough. I don't know. Look, guys, I have taken over the DM's chair. We redid Matt's office today. So, guess who still can't feel her hands? That'd be me. We'll just wait a sec for people to show up. What are you doing? This is my show. Get out. Mine. Get out. I redid Matt's office today, guys. I can't feel my hands. I'm not gonna paint. But look, I've upgraded from note cards. Now I got a book. Are all the open games the same, babe? Okay, so we got openings on Saturday, The Rock. We got openings on all the games on Monday. So 10 a.m., 5 p.m., and 9 p.m. We got an opening on Tuesday. Nothing on Wednesday. Opening on Thursday. Nothing on Friday. Nothing on Sunday. Top tier Monday games, I agree. Alright, well, I stole the DM's chair, so I'm not evil. There's too many monitors. He's got 4 monitors. I don't know what I'm doing right now, guys. Okay, we got this. So I don't need my phone for once, which is weird. Okay, we're gonna do the recap. So, Saturday, The Rock. Our sweet Cassie had a dream about needing powdered silver to complete their mission. We met. Hi. Hello. Everyone's just jumping in. Okay, I'm just starting. So, we met Zav, and he's got a lot of weapons. We kind of tried to disguise Cassie because, everybody wants to steal her. And by kind of, sort of, I mean they put her in an oversized coat and pants. So, think like a 15-year-old girl trying to be a boy. It kind of works. Kind of. Not really. They went about to explore the city and realized there's not a great lot of stuff going on. And then, Ezekiel, don't you dare. Matt, the boy! Oh yeah, rip Zab. Zab made 1 episode. It's okay. But then they found a little poor shopkeep to deal with, and the first thing out of everyone's brain was, ooh, what can we steal? Will you shut that door, baby, so he doesn't come back in here? Thank you. And then we hedged our bets, which was really funny because they were like, we'll flirt with the storekeep and then we'll distract him and then we can steal. So they had Arya and Zab flirt with him. And we discovered that the shopkeep, Mr. Philip Francis, rolls by having menage a trois. So we found that out. And Wozy stole a ball that we don't know what it does. And El Toro smelled various animals being put together. And he was not happy. And they're thinking about killing Mr. Francis, but they're not sure yet if they want to kill Mr. Francis. But Mr. Philip Francis is going to come and visit them later. And so they bought some healing potions so that they could get the silver ball, the powdered silver, and they stole a ball that has a hole in it, but they have no idea what it does. And then they were like, oh wait, we were supposed to find out about the darkest attic. So they went back and tried to talk to him about the darkest attic, and they did pretty good. They found out that they want a bonded scenario, which is what comes from the actual creatures, but to get it, it usually has a fatal result for the creature. And they found out that they wanted a shit ton of it, which means that they're probably using it for some kind of weird human mutation. So that's not good. And so then they decided, well, we'll get more intel, and we'll go and we'll wander around the darkest attic to see. Is that how they got the Menage a Trois? Got the Taladori name? Interesting. So they went to the darkest attic, and again, the smell was off, and it was like the creatures again, but it was like the waste was smelling like that. So they're like, so they're like, okay, so there's pieces of animals again, great. And so like they were like looking at the building, and of course, like one of the guys who runs it is all like, "What are you doing?" And they're all like, we're from an architecture firm, and we're just checking out your building." Um, so they I don't know how it worked, but it worked, and they got access to the first and second level, but they're not allowed to look at the third because that's where the trade secrets are. And when they asked what the trade was, they said, "Well, that's part of the secret." Hey, yeah, it's a legit a creepy place. And then the attic level is only for paying customers. And then we had the world's worst interview ever, asking questions like, "What's your favorite animal? If you could be an animal." I'm sorry, I just have to ask these questions. That's what's on my sheet. I don't know how you guys got out of there without like failing 90 deception checks. Yeah, and just it was the darkest attic makes BDSM look tame? Is that the way to put it? Yeah, there were chains on beds and walls and stages, and pretty much anywhere you could put a chain, there was a chain. And meanwhile, the others went to go check out like this to see if there was a different way to get in and get in beneath. And they found out that there's like this little house. And so they were like, okay, we'll sneak in. And apparently doors are really hard to open, but windows aren't. So they went in, and like the whole place was just dusty except one rocking chair right in the middle. And everyone was like, "I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it." No, I don't like it either, but that's okay. And so they checked out the rocking chair, and it is, of course, a rocking chair of death. Cassie found out by like moving the bottom, she didn't get hurt, but she found out that if you like sat on it, it would shoot your hiney off. And we are getting a swear draw for Cassie because that girl's language is getting bad. Hiney. She said hiney and tushy and some other words. And then they were like, okay, we got regrouped. So they regrouped, and they discussed everything they found out. And they told Cassie to cover her ears, and then talked about murdering people. But Cassie didn't, cover her ears. And she's like, "We need to focus on the main mission first, guys." And they're like, "All right, okay, we'll dig in, we'll Wolverine in, and then we'll cover it up. And Garfield will make sure we're safe that way." And so they were like, "Okay, sure, we can do this. We can do this." So they go down there, and they find out, oh, wait, it's way busier at night than it is during the day. Distraction! So they did an improv show, and half of them went down the rabbit hole while the other half did an improv show. And then when Wozy realized, oh, we're good, Wozy ran off stage to go join the others, and everyone was like, "Oh no, my buddy!" And they ran after him. And so they were down the rabbit hole, guys, and that's where we wound up on Saturday the Rock. So we'll find out what's on the other end, and if they'll be able to perform the ceremony and cleanse the water and put the darkest attic out of business, I guess. Yeah, that's what happened. I don't know what's going on with this. Okay. I cut my hair again. Okay. Saturday till Dory. Moral dilemmas. That's what we should have named that episode. No one has a clear conscience right now. Everyone's like, are we the bad guys? Are we heard that poor sweet dragon? Are we the bad guys? And apparently woodworking as a hobby sucks, so don't try it. And then we found out that Enigma's gone and wasn't answering anyone's sending messages, so everyone was like, well, she made her choice. We'll move on, and we'll move down. And so then they were like, okay, well, let's go. Don't tell that to Chetney. Okay, but Chetney's like an old crotchety man, and so like woodworking makes sense for him, I guess. He's got more patience, I guess. I don't know. Plus, you try woodworking with one hand. I really am trying to figure out how. Like, does he put it, does Ranger put it between his knees and chisel it? Like, because that would be hard. I'm just saying. So then they heard music in the woods and they were like, hello, it's a party. Let's go join the party. I still don't understand how I don't want to think about it. Okay. So they went and joined a weird tea party with Bim, but it was actually like the best tea party because we decided that fire squirrel cannot mate with regular squirrels because they will get on fire. So it's a bad idea. Yes, Rangar has half an arm. A dire wolf took it. So Rangar has half an arm. So I am trying to figure out how the man wood works with half an arm. Like, does he put it between his knees and chisel with one hand? It's very difficult, is all I'm saying. Like, I would probably lose fingers doing it with two hands. So, props, okay? He uses his feet to kick people a lot too, which is pretty damn cool. Okay. So we met Bim, who's... The name of the animal just went whoosh out of my head. We met Bim. I'm so tired, guys. Sorry. And had tea. And we saw his little cottage. And everything can come out of the cottage except the cake. You have to eat the cake in the kitchen. Don't know why. It's just how it works. But he has lots of soothing teas. He was a very good party host. I agree. And then they asked Rowan to play the one Faye song he knows. And he did. He's Jackalope. Thank you. Oh, jeez. Right out of my head, I'm like, it's Jack something. I don't even know what it was. Okay. And so then, like, Rowan got spoons thrown at him because he played badly, but it's okay. And they asked him to join them in saving the Feywilds. And he was like, the Feywilds are in danger. Of course I'll join you. So he joined them. And then, Dizzy was explaining the moral code of the group. And I absolutely love that Rowan was taking notes on what the moral code of the group is. That was good. We found out that Brim has met Grog, but he couldn't remember his name. And then they were like, all right, well, let's keep moving. And so they were like, okay. And then they met a goblin toll collector for Queen Dryrot. And they were like, well, are you charging us? Like, are you going to charge us again? Are you going to fake it? And like, if we move 10 feet, then you charge us more. And the best response ever from a goblin. Look, look, look. We highway rob, not scam. So that was funny. And then they were like, well, do you have a forever pass? I mean, like, what if we want to come in more? Like, what if we decide, like, we want to, like, always come through this area? And they were like, let me talk to the queen. And so they, like, call her up, and she was like, all right, fine, let him up. And they saw the coolest spider ever that had, like, knives attached to its legs, and it would chop people. And Kirk was very jealous. Kirk's gonna find one of those. And then they were led up to a spiderweb city, and we asked the goblin his name, and he didn't have a name. He's, you know, just a henchman. And so we're like, fine, we'll call you Grog with 2 R's, but no apostrophe because then it gets Elvish. And so then we were like, we want a forever pass. And she was like, well, help me explain my territory. And we'll, like, you know, I'll give you a forever pass. And they're like, okay, so what does that mean? She's like, well, there's 3 guys this way and there's 4 guys this way. And the South is really weird. So that they were all like, oh, the South, that sounds like Mortis's home where we're trying to go. And so then, like, they kept going on. And Dizzy was like, what if we take all 3 and you join us in saving the Feywilds? And then she was like, what if you do all 3 and then we'll entertain further discussions and I'll give you a relic? And then we got into the conversation of what's a relic to, like, you know, a goblin named Dryrot. We don't know. And, like, everyone discussed it and they were like, do we have a goblin army? Nah, nope, we don't want it. We're good. So they paid their money to go. And the queen was not happy with them because she was like, you wasted my time, but that's okay. And they were like, it's fine, we'll go. And so then they decided they were going to camp out. And so Dizzy and Rangar had a conversation about, like, the dragon's death and then, like, taking from the dragon after he was dead and, like, mutilating his corpse. And then how, like, Dizzy had actually gotten caught by Rumberguard before and, like, and how she was hating Eurovir at that moment. And it's basically canon. Rangar's the dad. Because he's, like, the advice giver and he's, like, the chill one who's like, okay, but what if? So he's the voice of reason of the group. And poor boy just keeps getting thrown into the face stuff. So Dizzy's gonna try to forgive Eurovir, which is good. But meanwhile, Eurovir was already burying the armor that he took from the dragon because he had, like I said, nobody has a clear conscience right now. So they were like, okay, fine, it's good. We'll just bury this and it's fine. And then they're camped by this little river. Yeah, it was good with Dizzy. That was so good. They're camped by this little lazy river, and then all of a sudden the river starts raging like crazy, and it's like, and of course, the first thought anyone has is Sayuri, who's like, I'm gonna face step naked into the river and go skinny dipping in a river that was just lazy and now is raging because. So she jumps in, and she's like underneath the water, and the river's arguing with herself. And at that moment, she doesn't get right out. She's just like, oh, let me listen a little bit. Okay, well, that's weird. And then I'm like, Fae people are so weird, but it's okay. So then she gets out, and she's all like, hey, guys, it's like our river's arguing with themselves. So Dizzy and Bim stick their heads under the water. Dizzy hears it's arguing. Bim does not. We don't know what that means yet. And so then everyone else stuck their head under, and everyone can hear the voices except Bim. So everyone's like, oh, there's something going on here. But they're like, all right, let's go swimming. And Dizzy's like, okay, I'll cast water breathing on you, but you got to be naked for it to work. So Sayuri's like the only one who starts undressing. And then she's like, hey, wait a minute, why is no one else? And so then she got back to us. And so then they went into the water, and there's a beautiful red glow. That can't mean anything bad, right, guys? And that's where we ended Saturday. So now we got Sunday. So Sunday, Fables, Citadel of the Unseen Sun still. We left off with Pascal attacking everybody. And then Pascal got attacked. And was like, I changed my mind. I rethink this. Let's knock everybody out and see if the ghosts come out of them. And they're like, yeah, that's great. So they attacked Tomlin, and I don't remember if they actually knocked Tomlin out or not. No, they didn't. They attacked Tomlin, and Morphia got right up there to hit her. And so the ghost went through the floor and came up through and into Morphia. And they were like, oh, crap. And then, she was right there, so she could have pulled the lever, but so was Gorgo, and so was Pascal Shadow, and so luckily the shadow was able to stop her, so she couldn't pull the handle down. Ooh, excuse me. And then so they were like, ah, and then so they unbuckled Tomlin so that she wasn't in the chair, so that she couldn't. Yeah, the moment you guys realized it could go through the floor. I was waiting for it. But so they grappled Morphia, and she's 78 now, but it's okay. Or no, Tomlin's 78 now. It's okay. It's fine. And then everyone knocked out her. Finally, everyone ganged up, and they knocked out Morphia, and the ghost got out, and they were like, okay, we killed that ghost. And then there's one ghost left, and they're like, oh crap. Okay, there's a ghost inside of Yamlin. And so there was twin on twin violence because Tomlin was smacking Yamlin around a little bit. And they were like, okay, fine. And they tried to reason with the ghost. But the ghost was a douchebag. So that didn't work. And so everyone just starts shooting at Yamlin. And it was really hard to kill a cleric, guys. I'm just going to say. And it's really hard to kill a twin, apparently. So the spirit disappeared into the floor when Yamlin went down. And so they were like, okay, we released Yamlin from the chair. So at least she's not in the chair. And so the ghost was hiding underneath the floor, and Pascal was like, wait a minute, can I go into the floor? And Matt was like, yes you can. So Pascal went under the floor to kill the ghost, and the ghost kept trying to possess Morphia and failing, and then he died in the floor because it took damage for being in the floor. And so then Pascal came up and was like, I saved everybody, ha ha. And then we good buried Yamlin, so she had 1 HP, and all the ghosts are dead. But Yamlin does know that Morphia kissed her last episode because she still remembers. And so we did some healing and some resting, but not really because you cannot rest in Grim Hollow. It's brutal. And then we were like, okay, we're going to go back to the button room and see if we can find another button to help us. And as we're going back to the button room, 6, that's right, 6 light hunters showed up, and they were taking 2 new prisoners with them. And so they were like, all right, let's go, we got this. So they made 3 of the light hunters run away with turn undead, which was fantastic because that's oof. And then like, so we met Milo and what was the other one? Zervan. I can't say it right. I'm sorry. But so Milo is all like, oh, and he's so like meek and mild. And then when he gets to go evil Milo, he's got some issues. Because when he casts some spells, he's all like, it was scary. Not really, but he's got some mental issues. It's all good. It's all good. And then so like everyone up or down or was in the floor, and then they weren't in the floor. And then like one of them was dead and 2 of them were left because the other 3 ran away. And I was like, okay, we got this. And then we're like throwing them through the floor, and Yamlin and Tom, the twins are down underneath the floor, and they're like, what if we hunger a door into the floor? And they're like, okay, let's do it. And then Morpheo went down, and then Milo and Gorgo went down. So like, it's like, I think it's like Pascal and Zervan were up, and they were like, okay, you guys gotta come up because like everyone else is down. And then like Yamlin got a natural 20, so she's up with 1 HP. And they killed another they killed another light hunter. So there's 1 light hunter left who can't fly because they killed all the horses, which was clever. So like he has like no way to fight the flyers, and the 2 people that are up top at the point were Pascal and Zuran, who were both flying. So he was like dodging, that's all he could do. And then like, so like they got, so right now that's where we ended with Pascal healing Tomlin. So right now we got Yamlin, Tomlin, and Pascal, who are all up and in the floor underneath the light hunter. And then we got Milo, Gorgo, and Morpheo, who are all unconscious, and Zuran, who's up, but he's above the floor with the light hunter. Stressful. And that's where we ended. So half the party's up. I mean, one of them's up with like AHP, but they're up. So, I mean, that counts, right? Ezekiel out. Nope. Go on. Go. Good boy. Okay. Stressful. Okay. Yeah, all the rhyming names are messing with me. Okay, so Sunday, The Rock! So we found new locations. We found the Toothy Crags. Oh, no, we found out about new locations. We haven't watched them all. We found out about the Toothy Crags, the Winding Diggers, the Crawling Underpath, and the Miracle Lake. And so we had to figure out which one we wanted to go to and which path, because we got back out and the rabbits were like, okay, we'll help you. Well, this way's this, and this way's this, and we can do this way. So we put it to a vote, and we decided we were going to go to Miracle Lake. So it was, let's get along, little doggies time. And they took a little quick break beforehand, and they played card game. And Morgan is a hustler, I'm just saying. I think Morgan cheated. Morgan was all like, oh, I don't play cards. And then wound up winning. They were all cheating, but only Lady Silver got caught, so they kicked her out of the game for the second game. And so then it was Miss Ross versus Morgan in the rematch, and Morgan won again. So I think Morgan was up like 12 gold from 2 hand cards. Yeah. So that was good. And then Martha May, we met Martha May and her Tuxedo Cat Bandit, and they were like taking care of the people. Excuse me. And then like after they took a short rest, everyone was like, all right, let's go. And so they got in, and the Beefy Bunnies helped us make it through past the lake. But we did discover, we did discover that there's Cenarium at the bottom of the lake, and we might come back and check that out later because we marked it on our map. And then while we were resting at the lake after we got past it, we found snaky creatures that had shards of red Cenarium in them. Red Cenarium in them. Okay. Anyways, so that was hard to say. And they're bonded to it. So like Arya knew that meant something, but the dice are evil, so she doesn't remember it. Trauma and repressed memories will do that to you. Miss Ross then played cards against everyone and won 20 gold. And we discussed how much everyone wants to punch her in the face in a good way, because Jackie plays the character very well and pissed all of us off. And then we found rainbowed columns, which were all colors of Cenarium, and thus it's rainbowed. And so they put that on the map because they want to come look at that later. And then the main driver was like, I can get to the next leg safely, so if you group want to stay back and rejoin, you can. So they're like, oh, do we move on? Do we regroup? Do we kill a snake? And they were like, let's go kill a snake. So they noticed that the snake, when they thought it had crystals, but then they noticed that the smaller crystals weren't actually scales. They were like smaller snakes. So they're like, all right, we're going to lure it out. So Morgan like pulled it back away from its nest, and Miss Arya channeled Wozy, and she threw her voice and made like rabbit calls and like rabbit squeals. And so like all the snakes went after the rabbit, and then they like pulled the other snake out of the nest so that the rest of them wouldn't be threatened. And then like they realized the snakes were mean bully snakes because they fly, and like they fly by, and 3 of them were like and tried to kill Matthias, and then they knocked and then Oogie pulled out a full Cenarium blade like right from his chest, which was scary and awesome. And like it interferes with hits, so that was cool. And then Matthias did get killed by all the flying snakes. He went down, and Miss Silver charged in and just took care of it and got over Matthias, so they couldn't hurt him. And then Oogie healed Matthias, and then they had Cenarium arrows going. And they're like, oh, okay. And Martha May has a badass bracelet. Can we talk about that for a minute? I'm sorry. She's got a bracelet that has like animals carved in it, and then she can like get them out and they can like do stuff. We only got to see the bear, but it was badass. Okay. I want a bracelet now. Okay. So we killed the big snake and one little snake, and the 2 other little ones were like, we're going to fly away. And they were like, oh, do we let them? Don't we let them? And then Arya's dice are bullies, and we're going to throw out all of Arya's dice because her rolls were horrendous the whole night. So we're going to throw them all away. So they were like, let the other 2 escape. It's fine. We don't want them to call any more back to us, so it's fine. So we packed up the big spider and we put it on Silver because Silver's like, part horse. And then we backed away. And we decided we talked to the others who had gone and looked at plants, and they were like, I'm sorry, I'm still a little woo from the plants. And they were like, okay, well, let's avoid that plant. What does it look like? And it was this big pause, and it was like, it's a plant? So apparently they're just gonna hide from all plants at this point. And then they were like, okay, well, let's harvest the snake. And they got 6 red Cenarium crystals and 25 gold of red residue, which we don't know what that does yet, but we'll find out, I guess. And Miss Ross was like, okay, well, I'll go watch. And so she's sitting out there and like orange glow, and there's this highlights, and it's a face, and like there's eyes, and there's like the only glow. And Miss Ross is like, Arya, do you see this too? And then she comes out and she sees it, and they're like, she's like, okay, I'll go tell them. And she's all like, there's a giant face out there, and it's watching us. And they're like, did you eat some of the plants? And she's like, no. And then they're like, oh, well, why don't you? Not quite a beholder. It had 2 eyes. It was just orange and glowy. And so they were like, go talk to it. You're good at that. And like they were being sarcastic, but Ms. Ross didn't understand that. So she was like, all right, hello. And that's where we ended the episode. So somebody's watching them. We don't know who yet. Well, some of us might know something. All right. Fables. Monday morning. The pirate fables. I know everything. I'm telling nothing because I have to paint everything. I made so many cool creatures, and I found so many good Fae creatures. So many Fae creatures to throw at you guys on Saturday when it's time. It's not time yet. You're on a different mission right now. All right. Fables. So, Fables Pirates, we ended with everyone being unconscious and getting carried into the jungle. And they were like, are we dead? Nope. They were rescued by a nice elf who saved them because he wanted them to be able to like open trade with the island so that they could have supplies and food, because really all they have is plants there. And he was like, dude, I want some meat. I need some, like, I'm not made to be a vegetarian kind of thing. So they were like, all right, fine. And they were like, okay, so we're going to get back out. We got to get out of this godforsaken forest. And they're like, all right, we're going back. And so it was like, oh, god damn it. They got attacked by plants again. This time, it was a lady plant trying to kill them. And now everyone is developing a hatred for plants. And they were like, okay. They killed the lady plant. And then they were like, okay. They got back to the ship. Or they started getting back to the ship. And the lady who offered to be their guide was like, oh, maybe next time you should take a guide. And they were all like, thanks! Thank you so much! But they got back to their ship and they have a few new crew members. And they were like, alright, well, let's go check out some of the other islands. And hopefully one that doesn't have plants on it, because the plants are evil and trying to kill us. And so they went and they went to Mardel Island. And they were like, oh, this is friendly enough. And they had story time and some food. And they learned that, like, everyone on the island is a druid. So, hey guys, I think Wednesday Night Pirates, I found Mel's island that he would blow up in about 2 seconds without a second thought, because the entire island is druids. And they were like, oh, okay. And Captain Hercule had a little bit of PTSD because druids are related to plants, and there was too many plants on the last island. But they met a guy named Tiberius, and Tiberius wanted to join the crew, and they were like, well, we need to open up trade. And Tiberius was like, I'll do it. Can I come on the crew? And they were like, okay, sure, join us. And they got a tarot card reading, and basically Bing Bong was told that they have a soul, even though they're metal machine, and that they have a lot to learn. Ooh. And then they found out that the island had saved a guy named Danver, whose journal describes all the plants from the other island that they were just on. And they were like, oh, so he went to this island. The guys were like, yeah, oh, I guess he must have. And then they met a giant tree and a girl who's connected to it. And then they found another note from Danver, and they're like, why is he leaving notes everywhere? This man is like wasting paper, but okay. And so like they were like, okay, well, it's cool. We made the connection. We opened the trade. We repaid our favor. Awesome. We're good. Let's go look at another island. And they were like, oh, this one's a fire island. Cool. No plants. Let's go. So they went there and they were like, do we walk to town or do we take a wagon? And they're like, we're walking to town because they are broke. And so they were like, okay, we'll just walk down. And so as they're walking, they got attacked by some fire creatures. And apparently you can set a blob on fire. Things I've learned. And then like Bing Bong convinced the next caravan that went by that they should ride with them to help protect them. And so they got into town and they realized like there's all variety of people in the town, except everyone is like heavily armed and ready for a fight. So they were like, oh, okay. And they decided to join the militia because they wanted to learn firearms. And yeah, let's give a firearm to a deadly blob that is already a monk. Nope, they did it. And then so like they got recruited by Vic, and they found out that Vic like hates the mayor because he doesn't think the mayor does enough. And so they were like, well, okay. So Vic hired them to go kill the mayor. And they were like, okay, let's go get some intel. And then like Bing Bong found out that like other people like the mayor and he's a good mayor and he's just a workaholic. It's just there's a lot to take care of. And maybe he doesn't do the best with certain things, but he's trying to keep the infrastructure going. And so like they're all like, oh, and Hercule's like, I don't want to know anything about him. I'm just gonna go kill him. And they're like, oh, but he might be a good guy. And so then like they decided to break into the mayor's house and then they were gonna kill him. And they were like, okay. So like they're breaking into the house, they get caught by the guards and they're like, oh no, we were just here to deliver something for the mayor. Let us in so we can do it. And they're like, I don't know how they got in because like they were 100% breaking in, but the guards were stupid and they were like, okay, sure. So like they let them in and then like the minute they get in the house, they slam the door and kill the guards. And lobbate their bodies. So they're skeletons now, just laying dead guards, half digested on the floor. And they're like, and now we just wait. So Bing Bong was on one side of the door and Blot was on the other side of the door and Hercule was just sitting in the chair waiting for the mayor. And so the mayor comes home and all the mayor sees is skellies of his guards and then he gets knocked out. And that is where we ended the pirates. They went from like, we're going to do trade routes and we're going to help people to let's go kill a mayor with no questions asked. So yeah, that was chaotic. Okay. So masks. Sally Jane got to talk to her father. And then we found out like Erica's dad's probably in trouble. And they're like, they didn't really understand what kind of trouble, but he's probably in trouble. And then like something's going on with Betty. And so we're trying to figure that out. And then they fought some really old, very powerful dude that somehow knows Erica's dad, but also that Betty fought when she was young back in the past. So they have no answers, no new answers, and a whole bunch more questions. Yeah, that's all I got. I don't know why I put Friday right there, but that's okay. Monday, the temple! Oh, you guys, the temple. Back with our epic Gearkeeper battle, or as everyone was calling him, the Deathbot. Everybody was ready to like fight, and Palin was like, let's run away! But they were like, nope, we're gonna fight it. Drop the spear. Everyone attack. And then, of course, as they attack and as like everyone's like beating this thing up, Marvelous is like, why'd you drop the spear, Palin? And just messing with the poor boy. Esme got skewered, but she kept fighting, which was awesome because all I was imagining is like this thing sticking out of her, and she was just like, I'm gonna keep fighting, and then I'm gonna run away. And they took down the murder bot. And they harvested it and got some ash and some metal so that they can have a baby death bot. And then Shauna was like, well, I'm going to keep looking while everyone, like, you know, gets a skewer out of Esme and, like, harvests. And so she went on to look without touching. That was very important. And she, there was one that was broken, and then there was one that wasn't. The one that wasn't was the Plane of the Abyss, and everyone was like, nope, I'm good, thanks, let's keep going. We don't want to touch that one. And so then they were like, oh, this one's, the Plane of Fire. Yeah. Because we're just not gonna tell him. We're not gonna tell Palin that you turned down money for the party. But so like they found the Plane of Fire seal and that one's broken. There's no walls, just fire, and the seal's in pieces and shattered. And they were like, nope, let's keep going. Let's look for answers. And we found out that Palin has 3 eyes. Because you can put an eye right here. Technically 4 if you count the mimic eye and the cloak. But we're going with 3, which is creepy, but cool. And so then they found like this orange and this golden glowing walls. And the orange was like, touch to be tested. And Palin was like, nope, I'm good, thanks. Let's try to go through the other one. And so we try to go through the other one, and it's like, nope, nope, you have to be tested. And they're like, oh, son of a bitch. Then like they remember that the temple is shaped like the Pelor symbol, so it's got the 16 cells or the gateways. And they only know they know the time one, the abyss one, and the fire one. So there's 13 you guys didn't look at. Who knows how many of those are broken? I'm going to tell you, whichever one goes to the Mind Flayer world, it's broken because Tuesday broke it. I'm just saying. And so then it was like, okay, well, whose test is it? And Esme's like, well, I don't want to put anyone in danger. And Palin's all like, yeah, I'm good with that. No, we shouldn't be put in danger. And then everyone else is like, we'll go with you, Esme. And Palin's like, well, I don't want to be alone. So he joined. So they were all like, all right, fine. We're going to test it. And so they were like, they all put their hand on the wall and it turned into liquid. And I imagine like the Stargate thing. And then like everyone went through it and there was like these two voices and one was like masculine, one was feminine, and they were all mixed together and they were like, why have you come? And there was like, to be tested. And they were all like, ooh, fun. It was not fun, guys, but they thought it was fun. And there's like, so they got to choose between abyss and fire. And they were like, fire? And they were like, haha, they like me more. And so then like it was a phoenix, and the phoenix attacked Esme, and she's like, oh, you're the one she called. And then she like called Shauna a lesser creature, and we learned that Marvelous's heartburn joke did not go down well with a phoenix. And then Palin went down, and then he got up, and then Critter went down, and then he got up, and then he went down, and then he got up, and then he went down, and then he got up. I don't know how many times it happened, but seriously, Critters was a yo-yo, guys. He went up and down so many times in that fight. And then like Esme like was like, she got Critters up, and then she laid over him to try to keep him safe. And then the Phoenix landed and was like, ah, oh, she picks well. And then it exploded, and Critters went down again because it exploded. And it was like, you were tested, you may enter. And then there was like, okay, let's get Critters back up first. And then they were grilling Sister Esme about who she was. And so they like, Sister Esme had a very honest conversation about how Pelor's mad at her. And then like, they're all like, wait a minute, are we in the wrong temple? And they were like, no, we're in the right temple. Everyone calm down. So they were like, okay, we're going to tiny hut before we meet whoever she is. And Palin wanted a bath, but he cuddled with a stuffed animal and said was good, although he is missing Meehan a little bit, and that's okay. And so then everyone was like, okay, we're ready. It's all quiet, and they had a good rest. There was just a slight ring from the golden wall. And then everyone's like, anyone had any god dreams? And Esme's just like, if she wasn't a sister, I think she would have cussed at them. And I was like, okay, fine. And they like, she was like, okay, let's go through the gold wall. So they go through the gold wall, and it's just like a room. And then there's water. And then there's like a Pelor symbol floating on it. And Esme prayed to Pelor. And she, like, as she's looking in the water, she saw that woman's reflection from before. And she's all like, oh. And she's like, where are you? And she looked at the disc that was that was the Pelor symbol. And so like she reached for the symbol and she tried to bring it out, but she like, I love that Jackie was like, as a player, I don't want to, but as a character. So like she pulled it out and she flipped it over and then she vanished. And everyone was like, holy crap, where did Esme go again? Because, you know, the second time she vanished. And Critters goes up there and he like looks at the symbols, and instead of the Pelor symbols, it was black talent, black claws. I can't talk today, guys. It was black claws in the water instead of the Pelor symbol. And again, Palin's book knowledge paid off, because he's like, oh, that's a sect that was banished by the followers of Tiamat. And they were like, oh. Is Esme the type that would follow Tiamat? And they're like, And so Shauna was like, well, I'll try to send to her and see where she is. And she was told by her deity that, oh, no, she doesn't like being interrupted. And so Shauna was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and wait. Let's talk. Meanwhile, Esme's in like the little cozy room and having a little tea. No one told Esme that yet. So they're like, okay. And so like she's all like, oh, you came to see me. And Esme's like, well, not intentionally. Like, I guess I did. I didn't really mean to. What do you got? Oh, quiches. So Esme's like, so Esme and Takesis, I'm not saying it right. Takesis had a little chat, and Esme was like, all I really want is the truth. And Takesis is so very, yeah, I can't say it right. That is right. That's how you spell it. Takesis. Takesis. I don't know. But she's so very, very cunning. She's all like, don't be upset about a mistake in a history book. History's a lot longer than you think. And she's all like, oh, my daughter's the one that thought I might find you interesting, and I am impressed. She's like, but I'm not here to put chains on you. And I'm like, oh, this woman is cunning. But Esme was like very true about feeling lost and about how she values truth and different perspectives. And I'm going to eat this because it looks too good not to. Oh, hot. So, I'm burning my tongue. That was really warm. Not like hot, spicy, like hot, just came out of the oven hot. Okay. Okay, those need to cool down. My eyes are watering. Okay. And then, like, Takesis told her, like, I'll never lie to you. And so she explained, like, she exists as a piece of, like, a greater consciousness. And that, like, she wasn't, like, the bad one. And she was, like, judged as if she was there. And then, they contained her there. But her daughter, she let her escape and be free. And she's like, what do you want, Esme? And Esme's like, I just want to help people. And it's like, I have to believe that the truth. And she just wanted advice, not a command, and how she should help people. And Takesis is like, oh, just empower them so they can do better. And she's like, oh, okay. And she can see, like, Esme's like, well, how are you watching me? And she's like, well, I can see via my daughter because she's out there. And she's all like, you know, and when you reach out with your rituals and your heart, I can feel that. And like, what do you want to know about yourself? And she's all like, where do I come from? And she's like, I don't know, Esme. I don't know where you come from, but I'll think about it. And then she tells Esme that she was right about the other woman. And then so like, she's like, okay, do you want me to keep this temple hidden? She's like, yeah, I think that's best. You know, like, you know, the disc gives her access, but it won't free her. So Esme was like, okay, well, I'll take the disc. And she's like, is there anything I can give you? And Esme's like, I don't even know what to ask for. And Takesis was all like, oh, what if I could give you the ability to save an innocent? And Esme's like, ooh. Sorry, I don't trust Takesis as far as I can throw her. And granted, since she's like half deity, I probably couldn't throw her very far. But I don't trust her. That's why I'm giving her this like, whoa voice. Because whenever Matt plays like a god or a demon or like an entity, it's like, I don't trust you. Anyways, so like, she gave Esme the ability to like save one person if they've shed no blood. So she got her blessing, and there was 5 colored smoke, and I was like, because that's Tiamat, the 5 colors. And then like, so the friends, like she tells them that the friends have learned of the other and will be a little freaked out. And Esme returns and she takes the disc out of the water and is all like, let's not tell Vasselheim about this. It's too dangerous. And Critter's just like, well, what about a good group like the Cobalt Soul? And then it's like, shouldn't someone be minding these doors? And they're like, sometimes it's best to just leave it alone. And so they were like, we're gonna leave it alone. And so they are heading back out of the temple to go, I don't know where you guys are going next. But it's always interesting. And that's where we ended. Alright. And so now, Tuesday. Who broke the world? Again. There's a crack in reality. And mind flayers are trying to get out. And everyone is dealing with that differently. Like Mars is in like anger, denial, acceptance phase. I'm not sure where yet. Marlboro is in the, well, you better get ready for a fight phase. And Shiny's in the like, I think I'm broken phase. And Derek's in the phase. Derek's in the I'm not sure how I feel about anything phase. So like Marlboro and Mars were trying to figure out, do we contact Amnon? Do we contact Bingles? We need a group discussion, but really we need coffee. And so like Shiny, like meanwhile Shiny and Kevin were discussing mortality. And like he cast Augury to see like what would happen if he sent a message to his grandma, and absolutely nothing came out in Augury. And he's like, okay. And so then they were like, okay, well, let's contact Shiny's cousin and see what's going on with the Feywilds first. And so like Shiny finally found out that the queen he's been talking to is named Dizzy. Which we all knew, but Shiny just found out. And then they found out that the queen's also looking for some items, and that there are many pieces in play, but there's like no real answers yet about the Feywild because everyone's like trying to figure out what's going on and how to solve it. They contacted Amnon, and he was like, I will be right there. Because they're all like, there's a crack, and Mind Flayer invasion, and another maybe invasion, and maybe another invasion. And Amnon was like, okay. So he came immediately. And they haven't seen Amnon in a while, but now they've seen Amnon, and Amnon is missing an eye. And they were like, oh, okay. But no one mentioned it because they all have at least that much tact. And then Shiny, like, so they started talking about the crack in the plane and the crack in the prime plane, and Shiny got all offended, like, why is this the prime plane? And Amnon's like, well, this is the material plane. We didn't make up the rules. That's just what it is. And then, like, Amnon said, like, they're marked to close it. So, like, well, you have to close it. And he's like, well, I might have help for you. What if I offered you someone to help who's also been betrayed by the Shatterkai? And they were like, all right, cool. So they met Vander. And Vander is a Shatterkai. But he rebelled against the Shatterkai because they didn't want, his group didn't want the war. And so, like, they banished him. And so Shiny's insight was like, okay, seems legit. La 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 la. So Xander's now like, he had good instincts because when he looked around, he was like, I'm going to stay away from that one. And it was Marlboro. So he not stupid. Ezekiel Robert, get out. Thank you. And then so like, they were like, okay. And so like, he told them, Xander gave them the information that Zahir's Tooth was a place that they were talking about invading from, and that's on the Blight Shore, which makes sense because it's close to the Shadowfell. And Kargoth, cue the villain music, it had an artifact that he used to aid when there was like the a big battle. I can't remember what battle now. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. But that's fine. And so like they want to look for the artifact he had, which is Kafim's staff, and we found out that Kargoth is an ancient silver dragon. So let's go fight a dragon, guys. And then we found out that Xander actually has an investment from the Fae Court. That's actually from the Seelie Court, because it was with him when they found him. And Shiny's said that Amnon seemed... Well, Amnon left after that, and Shiny was like, well, he seems nice. Shiny's pants are on fire because he's a liar. And Marlboro pointed out, we don't need nice, we need answers. And so they were like, fair enough. And they were like, okay, well, it's Eberron's ring from the Unseelie Court is what Vander had. I want to call him Xander, and it's not Xander, it's with a V. Vander. So they were like, well, let's go to the island. And so like they were like, well, let's like see what equipment we have and get ready. And from now on, thank you, Shiny, but for the bag of holding from now on is called the Magic Pack, because I lost it laughing at that and I don't know why. And they were like, oh, Vander, do you need anything? Nah, dude's got a flaming sword, he's good. And so then, like, they got to the island. They were like, oh, the island's being worked by, like, these snake creatures and then these lizard people. And they're like, oh, if we go this way, we're going to attack them. We're going to get attacked, but there's a cliff. So, like, Shiny just parkoured up the cliff because, you know, that's how he does that. And I would like to know, because, like, everyone went up the cliff, which means Derek went up the cliff on a Pegasus. I would like to know how a Pegasus gets a 25 on stealth. I just want to know. Fine. So they go up and like the island is covered in this green glass and it kind of like pulsates and they're like, ooh, what the hell is it? And they figure out the whole island is covered in residuum and it's magnifying one thing to a dangerous amount. And it covers the entire island almost at this point. So they're like, oh, okay, well, what does it do? Like, and so Shiny like threw a leaf on it and the leaf frosted over. And Mars was like, oh, okay. And everyone was like, what? And he's like, they're amplifying the cloak, which is the vestment that they're trying to find from the Fae Court. Because it's like the cloak of, I don't remember what the cloak is called, but it's like, it's snow related. It's winter related. I can't remember what the thing's called. My brain is not working, guys. And so they're like, okay. So like then they're looking around, they see like there's this temple and it's like 3 layers and like the first layer is like all defaced. It was like eyes and stuff, but now it's defaced to like lizards and snake. And then like on the very top there's like a large residuum statue being carved and it's a sphere and it's got a maw and it's got eye. Just one eye. Just one. And everyone's like, oh, I don't like this island anymore. And so they're like, it's alright, it's cool, we'll do this. And so like Marlboro kept his eyes open, he saw people coming through and they're like, okay, so we gotta sneak through the clearings. And so like call back to last episode when they were like fighting in Mars's brain and Shiny got bitten by an invisible creature and was like, I'm not a popsicle. Shiny almost became a popsicle because he misstepped and started getting frozen. And so they were like, no, we got this. And they're like, okay, where do we go? And, God bless Derek. Derek was like, let the couple lead, because he still thinks Shiny and Mars is a couple, even though they're not. And so then, like, everyone's like, yes, let the couple lead. And so they get to, like, it's like a ziggurat, basically. It's a temple, but it's more pyramid-like than, like, normal temples. And so they're like, they're listening, and, like, there's 7 little eyeballs. Just little eyeballs floating around. And they're like, okay. And so like the little eyeballs were like, like giving out orders, but it was all nonverbal. And they found out like no sleep until the work is done. And so they were like, oh god, this sucks. So they were like, okay, we got this, we can do this. And then they Shiny and Xander decided to distract by making 7 imaginary eyeballs and then using message to like throw out some of the words that Xander had heard so that they could do that. And so like then Derek like around the side and built a little hole in the wall that was a line with a D on top of it. So yes, his sigil is X-rated and I love it. And then it just went into innuendo, like, do we keep it up or do we bring it down? About leaving the door open or not. And so like they're like, okay, do we go right or do we go left? Because it was like hallway, and they like all the footprints went right, and there were no footprints to the left, so they were like, we'll go left. And then they realized the whole left side is trapped, and they were like, well, Derek will go first because he's got the Pegasus. So he goes over there, and it's dark over there, and Derek has no dark vision. So first of all, he got shot at with blue lightning and dodged it, but the Pegasus did not dodge it. Penelope. And then it was a pink ray, and Derek took a bow because he dodged it again, and then he got hit by the red ray. And a lot of damage. And then so like Vander realized, oh, it's a type of beholder, but it's like different. So he yelled out, beholder, and everyone was like, oh crap, how do we get over there? So Derek was like, he saw the cloak that they're looking for, but then he saw the throne, and he saw an eyeball, and it had metal like grafted into it, and then there was lots of baby eyeballs, and he was like getting beat up. And so like Mars and Shiny hopped on Penelope, and they rode over there, and Mars was like, I will not cower before it, because it tried to make him cower. And then like it's canon that Xander can't walk, but he can avoid traps like a badass, because that man was tripping over his own feet but didn't get hit by any of the traps. And then, so Xander got to the door and he could see it and couldn't make any attacks. And so Marrow, not as good with tracks, but fuck that, and just barrel rolled through it. And would not be stone. He broke that one when they tried to turn him to stone. And then we ended with Derek throwing some coins at the beholder and non-beholder. For you who don't know, it's an overmind. It's a type of beholder. And that's where we ended that session. They're cool now. Okay. Wednesday Pirates. The aftermath of defeating the PK. So Caldron went to see his dad, and he's good. And he was all like, oh, I'm surprised they let you keep working. And he's like, well, some of us don't have the luxury of not working. And Caldron's like, there's a battle going out there. And he's like, yeah, well, that's killing. That's not working. And like he found out his brother and sister both went on ships, and was like, they wanted to fight. I couldn't stop them. I couldn't stop you, so why would I be able to stop them? And Caldron was all like, and then, but then the dad did say that Caldron's gun was a beauty. And then we met Captain Mordecai's sister, who's working for Caldron's dad right now. She did not give her name because when they're in mourning, they don't have names. Because they become someone different afterwards, and they might change their name. And she told Caldron to not believe him because all he does is talk about his dad only talks about him, and that he's just being a hard ass. But then she informed Caldron that his siblings are on the Storm's Gambit, which is 6 months out. And he invited his dad to come meet the rest of the pirate crew, and his dad was like, well, I gotta keep working. We might need these cannons. And so then they were like, okay. And so like Mal went to take a nap because poor Mal has like 3 strength right now, because it took a lot out of him to banish the Plant King to, like, not banish, but wish the Plant King out to the Astral Sea. And so then like Cass gets it. She's like, now it gets tough because it's politics. And so like they found out the Wild Bloom's safe. Simon wanted to have a group slumber party, and Cass was just like, hell no. So in the morning, the pyramid is back, guys. So they have to go deal with the pyramid still. And so they discussed about, like, how do we deal with it, and how they need disintegrate, and how, like, does anyone have that? Nope. Can the cannons do it? Nope. And then I was like, oh crap. And then Cass was like, well, friendly reminder, Mal has meetings that he needs to be at today. And they were like, fine. And he's like, but Thola can have a seat because her mom's missing, so she still represents the district. So they're like, then they were like, well, where do we throw the meeting? Do we do it in the throne room, or don't we do it in the throne room? Because if we do it in the throne room, then Mal is taking leadership. If we don't do it in the throne room, people are going to challenge Mal. And so like they were like, all right, fine. We'll do it in the throne room. And they were like, we'll do it. And then like they want to get rid of the funky face that's like carved into the ground of the room, and they're like, can we get rid of this? And Cass is like, it's a bargain with something, so like it'll take time to get rid of it. She'll do research, but it's stable for now. So like there was a meeting of all the families. So we met Tricky and Yvonne and Thola were the ladies. Oh no, there's also the hag. The hog. The hog was the other lady. And then it was like Merciless, Betrayer, the Mad, and Mal were the guys. So it's a council of 7 plus the new PK, which is Mal. And so like they figured out that they did kill Matthias, who was the guy who parlayed the last time. So it was like, yeah, that happened. And so they sat him down, and Mal came out swinging. Mal was like, look. Wyatt was up. And Darktoe's gone down the toilet, and we need to solve this problem, and this is what we need to do, and what are we going to do? And came out swinging. And they found out like that they can't rebuild the arcane cannons because they used everything they had to make the arcane cannons. So like they're like, okay, we need to do negotiations, and like they basically settled on like, let's pitch to them that we become their pirateers. Like, so they're gonna go like back to the original pirating where like you were hired by a country to do the pirating, which is kind of cool in my opinion, instead of being straight out pirates. So and then they took 2 weeks so that Cass could learn Disintegrate, so that now Cass has 2 chances of taking out that thing where she can use her spell to do it, or she can use the spell scroll if it doesn't do it. Tonk spent some time with the cannons and got made fun of because he like was studying the cannons, and they're like, we have the blueprints right here. And Tonk was like, I want to look at them. Djal met some giants because he decided, I'm gonna go up the beanstalk because it's Djal. And he took a rock from up there so he can go visit them anytime he wants. And then they found out that Darktoe is broke. Like broke because the Plant King used all the money and then went and stole the hoard of a red dragon who's dying now because PK stole its hoard. So yeah, they were bad giants. Or maybe Djal just sweet talked them. Djal has a habit of doing that. I mean, he won over the heart of a vampire, so maybe it's just Djal. But so now they've also decided that they're going to help the red dragon get back its hoard so that the red dragon doesn't die. But after they deal with the pyramid, because the pyramid's first. They got to deal with that first. And that was Wednesday. Thursday. Oh, Thursday. I never know what the hell to expect from you guys. Peppy invented Axe body spray, but it's pepsuration. I'm never going to say it right. I'm sorry, Dizzy. I'm sorry, Peppy. I mean, pepperation, as in inspiration. It's very special. I love Ray's idea of turning your enemies into productive members of society so that they are too busy that they cannot mess with you guys. So basically, like the Green Emeralds were like, oh no, we do roofs and we waterproof roofs. So Ray went all around town talking. I cannot say it right. I am sorry, Jackie. I cannot say it. I have trouble with P's and S's and R's. I am never going to say that word right. But so like Ray went around town talking them up to everyone to get them the contract, basically. So they are so busy, they do not have time to screw with you guys. I loved that idea. That was amazing. And then, we found out there's some trade route issues. There's a caravan incoming, and there's some recent thefts to deal with. So they were like, well, should we go meet the caravan? And they were like, well, what's the worst that could happen? And everyone's like, why would you say that, Silver? And she's like, danger. Yeah, I love that. Because everyone's like, it's it from inspiration. And everyone else was like, perspiration? So they were like, okay, well, we'll go do the caravan. And then there was a message delivered via arrow because they're like up on their floating earth moat thing, so nobody can get to them. And so they're like, all right, cool. And then like it was the arm behind the hand, we'd like to meet you in the well. And they're like, why a well? But then so like it was like, well, do we do this or do we do this? Do we do this? Do we do this? And then Ray used her magic coin, and it was like, it showed them like going down to the well and Peppy getting some gold. So Peppy was like, well, okay. So she took trial 42 down to the well so she could sell it, because that's what they're going to get the gold for. And so they went down to the well, and they like saw all these things, and they wound up in a dark room with all these columns, and they were all like, what do you want? And they're like, well, the Hand are idiots. And they're like, why are you calling yourself idiots? And they're like, no, we're the Arm, we control them. And then we got all mixed up with the whole metaphor, so we just had to drop the metaphor because it just got too confusing for everyone except Ray. And they found out what they want is to control the library, because they want to control the knowledge and they want to protect people from it. They found out the creature's name was Never Ray. And they were like, and they want to protect the library from others. So maybe we'll have a card system. And like, basically it's canon. They just invented the public library. And I love that Matt has basically made a canon that librarians are magical. So whatever. And so they made negotiations. They're only going to negotiate with them right now because they're local and they want to help. And Peppy did get 100 gold. So, hey, it's good. Ray's coin is 100% magical. And then they were like, okay, let's go to the caravan. And then all of a sudden the caravan, instead of being like 3 hours away, was like 10 minutes away. And they were like, oh, they're coming in quick. And so they were like, because it shimmered and teleported really quickly. And they were like, okay, well, let's go see what's going on. And then like they were looking behind it and they could see things moving really quickly. And they were like, oh, crap, let's go help them. And so like they get there and it's all like purple and crimson and all hoity-toity, and you're like, oh, rich people. And they were like, okay, well, what's going on? And they realized they're being chased by goblins who are all like, oh, give us your gear with your babies. And they didn't want to give up their gear. And everyone was like, dude, that's dark. Like, we make bad jokes, but that's bad. And so they were like, what's going on? And so Ray tried to peek up into like the thing, and this little blonde elf stuck her head out and was like, oh, that's so rude. And she was evil preppy. I don't like her. And then like, so like, she gave them their name, but none of us care what it is. She's Blondie now, and we're all gonna kill her. It's fine. I'm not gonna dignify it by putting her name out on the air. And so like, they find out like from the goblins that she stole the queen's crown, and so she's a liar and an evil peppy. So they were like, okay. So they tried to look, and she was rude again. And Ray said, well, fuck this, and just flipped the whole caravan. Or the whole wagon. And then she was all like, oh my god, they want to fight us. That's about as good as Valley Girl as I can get, guys. And so then, like, they did a cheer that was so... yeah, it was like Rainer. Who cares? Blondie. And so, like, they stole Peppy's cheer. And like, so Ray started pulling down the silver barrel to break it. And then Silver was like, so you want to dance? Then dance! And shot the celebration arrow. And so they were hardcore, like, wild dancing. And I just love the idea that you guys just messed up all their choreography and it looked horrible. And I love it. Anyways. And so, like, Pepe's pissed. Okay. And nobody blames her. Nobody blames her. I wanted to kill this woman the minute she stuck her head out of the cart. So like, and then Blondie tried to all seduce Rip, and Rip was like, no, thank you. It's just like, oh my god, you're no fun. And then like, I loved that as Rip is trying to destroy this ball, he like rhymes and backs up Peppy by calling them out on stealing her cheer. And I was like, yes. And then like, Silver found out what was stolen. She tried to look for it. And then, like, Peppy threw a bead of force at her, but missed. But then, like, she was going straight after her because this is appropriation. This ain't even funny. And she tried to hit Peppy, but missed. And then, like, the backup dancers, like, knocked out Ray and Rip. But Silver found the crown, and she sent it to the goblins with Shadow Spike, who thankfully was able to carry the crown. And then, like, what I loved, and I put it in chat, I was like, I love that, like, you guys were attacking inanimate objects. And, like, yes, Peppy drew her sword and got up into her face, but You never hit anyone. They hit you first, so it totally looked like self-defense. No matter what you guys did after that, it was self-defense. I loved that. And then so Peppy went straight for killing them all. And they tried to run away, and then she cut the horses thing. And she was like, she burned the wagon with one of the dudes still in it. I loved it. Peppy went straight out murder hobo. It was amazing. And finally the goblins arrived and they were like, we shall murder and loot. And Ray's like, are we the bad guys? And so like Silver talked to the wolves, because I love that the goblin can't talk goblin. Love it. But she talked to the wolves and was like, find the bad invisible lady. And so like they tracked after her trying to find her, but she got away. We did find out that Trial 42 is flammable, because Peppy threw that into it and then just waited for them to come out so she could kill them. And she did. The goblins were satisfied and got their things back, and they were all like, oh, you're the good ones. We will stick to our deal and we will not attack Grotholm. So you guys made an alliance treaty. Sorry, Ray, it's a treaty. Although Rip says it's a friendship because they're blood brothers now. And then like Peppy cut out one of the tooths and gave it to Silver, and they got back to town, and everyone was like, well, how do we deal with like the ones who like survived that weren't killed? Like, do we exile them? Do we kill them? Is there a trial? Like, was this warfare? Like, what do we do? And so like we just like discussed all those like new laws that we're gonna have to think about, how like acts of aggression will not be allowed, and like how Peppy's gonna sue them, not for herself, but because Rotholm is the home of cheerleading and they are stealing from Rotholm. And so then like everything was like, they like talked about the magic being used, because they charmed the players, but they also charmed people in the town. And so like now charming magic like affects people's mind, is like looked down upon. And I was like, oh my gosh, guys, Dizzy would love this town. Because Dizzy would be like, what, you don't allow mind control? Perfect town. So Peppy got all the cheerleading paraphernalia turned over to the city. And then they turned it over to her. And they gave her a cheer of Arcane Mirage. And now the other town was found 500 gold. And it's to benefit Rotholm, so they completed a greenhouse. But there's also going to be another additional fine, because while they don't think it was maliciously leading the goblins there, it was careless and reckless. So there will be another one. Yeah, and that was Thursday, which is amazing. I never know what's going to happen on Thursday, and I love it. Let me go back now. I got to go back and find my Friday notes. Friday. I was sick, so I didn't take a lot of notes on Friday, guys. Okay, so Friday... you know the part in Camelot where it's like, let's not go to Camelot. Never mind, it's a silly place. That's basically what happened. They were like, never mind, let's not go to the Deadlands. It's a silly place. So they decided not to go to the Deadlands. Belden found out that their chief fire genasi, who's like in charge of like all of their business basically, is actually the daughter of the town Serosa. Which is like, okay, that's weird. Like, you didn't tell us that your mom is like really, really powerful in the city. But also a little bit awkward, because about a year earlier in game, Belden did actually sleep with the Serosa. So Belden slept with the mom of their basically head manager. It's fine. It's fine, guys. And then yeah. Oh, okay. So then they found out that assassins tried to kill Artemisia's parents, which is not cool. And then like while like they're finding this out, there's a guard out there waiting with Belden, and the guard tries to kill Belden. So there's another assassin. Hi, baby. What's up? You made me your what? Saya. Not your phone. Go wash your hands. We'll talk about this in a minute. And so there's another person trying to assassinate them. And then Quinn went to the temple and was like, well, I'm going to try to like make some... Saya? Quinn was like, I'm going to try to make something in the temple. And at first they were like, oh, okay. And then they found out he was with the Walton Matilda. And they were like, maybe you should come back later. So there's something going on. They still don't have any answers. But yeah, that's where that was. And that's all I got, guys. That's the week. So yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. And I'm behind on all my minis because I still can't feel my stupid hands. So, that's what I got. Thanks for joining me. I see you guys all tomorrow, and I'll try to kill you all tomorrow. So have a good night. I'm going to end this broadcast and give Matt back his seat because I don't want to do GMing. Good night, y'all.